What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing the Galaxy S10 versus the iPhone 11 here. So this is a very interesting comparison. Both these phones came out in 2019, so it's just kind of interesting to see how these phones have aged throughout the years here, camera wise, speed wise, and yeah, so everything else we're going to look at. So first off, let's talk about the overall price of these phones. So these phones are well below $200. The iPhone actually still holding pretty strong. It's still like exactly at $200 for an unlocked version. Then for a locked version, it's like $169. The S10 is pretty cheap. It's like around $150, $160. You can find this phone. And yeah, so let's go ahead and look at the hardware here. Hardware still looks great on both. They feel awesome in the hands, and they're both glass and metal devices, and they both have IP68 dust and water resistant. One of the things that you'll notice with the S10 is that you have a headphone jack, and this phone actually has SD card support. So you do have expandable storage, which was a big advantage at that time because the iPhone 11 did not have a headphone jack or expandable storage, and the base model was 64 gigs. So you'll run out of storage pretty fast on the iPhone 11 for sure. So that was a pretty big advantage. And one thing you'll see here is that you only have 2 cameras versus the 3 cameras on the S10, which you'll notice in the camera comparison. The 5x shots, the 10x shots just look a lot better on the S10. So that was also another big advantage at that time. So, but the iPhone also does have a pretty good software support. So the iPhone 11 actually got the iOS 18 update, which I wasn't expecting. Now it is a stripped back version of the software, but still, it still got the update, and the S10 only got 3 years of majorOS updates. But everything still works on the S10 as far as the apps, and then after that it was getting security patches, but everything still works as far as, you know, applications and stuff like that. Another crazy difference with these two phones is the screen. So you can see you have pretty much a more modern design on the S10. It's a punch hole versus Apple's gigantic notch, which houses the Face ID. And it's a night and day difference actually with the display. So the S10 has a 1440p display, 6.1 inches, 550 for the PPI, and it is a dynamic AMOLED HDR10 Plus. The iPhone has an IPS panel, and then it is a only 720p plus display. It's 6.1 inches as well, 326 for the PPI. It still looks decent in real life, but it's just a huge difference when it comes to displays. Now both these phones are 60 hertz panels as well too, and like I said, it's a night and day difference when it comes to color, and overall, like I said, screen design is just a lot better on the S10 here. But like I said, the IPS panel really doesn't look that bad in real life. It's just that the notch is making it look outdated, and it's just not as, I guess, clear. It's just not as clear as the S10 when it comes to just, you know, actually looking at the panel and icons and stuff like that. So yeah, so Samsung had an amazing panel here. Now this is a completely flat screen on the 11. You'd have a curved display, which a lot of people these days do not like. But yeah, guys, the panel on the S10 is still excellent even for today's standards. You'd actually be surprised that phones that came out in 2019 actually are still very, very fast. The iPhone has always had great chips and great optimization with the software, so you get these really great scores. Even in 2024, it's still a pretty impressive score. So you have the Snapdragon 855 on here. You have Apple's A13 Bionic chip on here, and then we also do have 128 gigs, 6 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs, 4 gigs of RAM here. And yeah, so you can see the score difference here, but in real life, they pretty much feel the exact same for the most part here. And I'm pretty sure these two phones actually game the same as well too. So if you get into a little app launch, just looking at the animations, iPhone, let's open up YouTube. Again, the iPhone. I gotta sign in. Let's try Google Earth. So we can see the iPhone a little bit faster here, getting into applications for sure. And what else do we have on here? Let's try PUBG. I'll turn this down. So it looks like iPhone definitely faster. Yeah, so I would say iPhone's a little bit faster for sure here. And it could definitely be just being a little bit more optimized. We know that this stopped at Android 12. So I think the S10, you know, Samsung is giving it updates now. So Samsung has a 7-year pledge on the newer Galaxy phones. So that's nice that it'll get that extended, you know, life support, software support. When it comes to gaming performance, you still have an excellent gaming performance on both of these phones. We can still play PUBG at HDR Extreme, pretty smooth here at 60 frames. And yeah, so no issues at all with gaming performance on here. And like I said, the cool thing about the S10 with gaming is that it's super cheap, and you also get the SD card support, and there's really no complaints. There's no overheating or anything like that. The iPhone does get a little bit warmer than I would like when gaming, and that's one of the most, you know, things that I've noticed. But this phone also can play PUBG at HDR Extreme as well. And both games honestly look great for the most part here. So like I said, these phones throughout the years, they can still play, you know, Call of Duty and pretty much a lot of games, you know, pretty decently. These speakers, max volume. Man, the S10 is a lot louder than the iPhone. I almost thought the iPhone wasn't up all the way. Now you do have a bit stronger bass on the iPhone 11 for sure, but overall the S10 is noticeably louder. Now you can use Face ID on here, but what's cool about Android is that you can use the Face Unlock and the fingerprint sensor, which is awesome. Having the, you know, the choice of having those two options is always great. All right, so for the cameras, the cool thing about the S10 again was that telephoto lens, giving us much more zooming capability. Instead of the 5 times, we can go up to 10 times, and you'll really notice it if you take in like 4 times shots and stuff like that. 10 times the photos just look a lot clearer. And yeah, so the S10 has a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel telephoto, 2 times optical, 16 megapixel ultra wide, shoots in 4K 60 with a 10 megapixel selfie that also shoots in 4K 60. The iPhone with the dual camera setup, 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide, can shoot in 4K 60 as well with a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. Let's see how these photos and videos look. battery situation is pretty much the same on both of these phones. They really don't feel that different at all, in my opinion. The battery life is just kind of okay on both of these phones. The batteries aren't really that big. The S10 with the 3400 milliamp hour battery, the iPhone with the basically a 3100 milliamp hour battery. And yeah, they both charge, kind of the same. They're not really that fast. But you do have the advantage of wireless charging on both of these phones. And you also can do the reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy, which is nice. But I would say, even if you put a brand new battery in here, the battery life is just kind of okay on these devices. It's not really anything that stands out, at that time. So yeah, so very interesting old flagships here, just to see how they age. I think these phones have aged really well. They're still very, very usable in 2024. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.